Opposition parties meeting today in Parliament to discuss the issue of the Supreme Court verdict rejecting the multiple pleas for an independent probe into the death of a special CBI judge, BH lawyer. Leaders of opposition parties will meet Leader of Opposition Ghulam Nabi Azad's chamber in Parliament. Well, let's now go across to former AGI, Mr. Soli Sorabjee, who joins us for more. Sir, a day after that decision by the Supreme Court in rejecting the pleas, and a very strong statement by the Supreme Court also talking about how that there was their political backing behind these pleas. So today the opposition parties to meet on this, and also there are reports that they may discuss the issue of impeachment motion against the Chief Justice as well in the backdrop of yesterday's decision.
Yes.
Your reaction to this, because you said that this should be the end of the matter yesterday when the Supreme Court had rejected those pleas, but clearly the opposition now meeting, and then they want to discuss the way forward after the Supreme Court rejected any probe into Judge Lawyer's death.
Well, in my view, people should understand to accept an unfavorable order, to accept defeat, and not go on just repeating the same thing, urging the same cause. The Supreme Court heard the matter extensively, has given good reasons. Now, if you don't accept it, what happens? Then there's a finality. You don't trust the Supreme Court, you don't trust its judgment, then whom will you trust? There must be some impartial tribunal to decide these matters. It's decided. So I don't understand this. I'm completely opposed to this. You can't have an impeachment motion just because a certain judgment is not of your liking.
Right, sir, but sir, there had already been discussions about, the Chief Justice, and also you had the 4 judges, senior judges of the Supreme Court coming out and speaking to the media and saying that all was not well in the Supreme Court, and they talked about the judge lawyer case and, how cases were going to certain courts. So given all that backdrop, the opposition parties, they're clearly wanting to push this matter further.
That the 4 judges' press conference has nothing to do with this matter specifically. That's a different issue altogether. That's right, about.
It was one of the triggers. The assignment of the judge lawyer case was one of the triggers for that press conference, and it comes in the questions over the Chief Justice, having been raised then, and now again the opposition parties coming together to talk about the manner in which this case was, the pleas were rejected.
But the plea was rejected after full hearing. So that's all I'm saying. What happens? The plea is rejected, you don't accept it. You still go on repeating the same thing. Where will it end? After all, there must be some finality to certain issues. I can understand the Supreme Court just cursorily dismissed it in 2 lines or in 2 sentences. They went into the whole matter, they examined it. They found no reason to disbelieve the judges of the Bombay High Court. They gave a good reasoned judgment, and I think one should accept it. I think our people should realize that there are some cases you lose, some cases you win, but in any case you must accept the verdict gracefully and then move further, and not rake up the same issue again and again.
All right, so there are also reports that the opposition parties may once again discuss the issue of impeachment motion against the Chief Justice of India in the backdrop of yesterday's case. So what is your opinion on that?
Well, I think the impeachment motion, to my mind, is obviously completely ill-conceived. Impeachment can be, the words of the Constitution are, for gross misbehavior. Now, what's the gross misbehavior? Judgment against you, that you don't like a certain judgment. I think the opposition is doing a great damage. I'm not concerned with this particular Chief Justice. I'm not concerned with personalities. I'm on a question of principle. You don't have impeachment motion against the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court or any other judge on grounds which are really not tenable in law at all. I think the opposition is doing great harm to the institution of independent judiciary and great harm to the public perception that the judiciary just dispenses justice without fear or favor. I'm afraid that is very unfortunate, and the opposition's move is really ill-conceived.
All right, Mr. Soli Sorabjee, thank you so much for speaking to NDTV.